That is a great scene. Um, Absolutely. There's just so much depth to it. There's so many different things that we could really delve into and talk about why that scene is so good and why it really connects with people. But do you want to go ahead and read a little bit something from?
I would love to.
Okay.
Thank you for asking. Okay, just a little background about this book. My wife calls me a huge nerd. I keep on bringing up my wife. I guess I'm in love with her. In any case, I read this. I think I was maybe 12 or 13 when I read this book, The Two Towers. And of course, this is the book that the clip from the movie you just watched was based upon. And this is almost a 400-page book. I think I read it in a day. I didn't want to eat or sleep. I was so into this book. Yes, I am a humongous nerd. But the end is just so amazing. So this is what that scene is based upon, this conversation between Sam and Frodo at a very low point. It's a different low point than the story that you just watched, or they moved up and moved around the timeline, but it's still a low point. "Yes, that's so," said Sam. "And we shouldn't be here at all. Have we known more about it before we started? But I suppose it's often that way. The brave things in the old tales and songs, Mr. Frodo. Adventures, as I used to call them. I used to think they were things the wonderful folk of the stories went out and looked for because they wanted them, because they were exciting and a life was a bit dull and a kind of sport, as you might say. But that's not the way of it with the tales that really mattered, or the ones that stay in the mind. Folks seem to have been just landed in them, usually. Their paths were laid out that way, as you put it. But I expect they had lots of chances, like us, of turning back, only they didn't. And if they had, we shouldn't know, because they'd have been forgotten. We hear about those as just went on. Not all to a good end, mind you. At least not to what folk inside a story, and not outside it, call it a good end. You know, coming home and finding things all right, though not quite the same, like old Mr. Bilbo. But those aren't the best tales to hear, though they may be the best tales to get landed on. I wonder what sort of tale we've fallen into."
Storytelling and the great stories are not just about entertainment, and they're also not about making a point. They're about connecting with people and speaking to them as human beings. We love stories, and that's not a coincidence. It's not random that everyone really loves stories. It's something about the human condition, I think, that ties people together when they read or watch or listen to a great story. Stories are important, and we cannot let companies or different entities try to cancel stories or to whitewash them or turn them into something else, because they're not just for entertainment. They are important, and people like J.R.R. Tolkien, I think, knew this. He is communicating it through Sam, who is a great character here, and he, the author J.R.R. Tolkien, he went through a lot, so he understood this. I mean, he participated in World War I, which was an absolutely horrific war. And so he knew very well the darkness that is in this world. And yet he has hope. He has things worth fighting for. Something Sam says, there's still good in this world and it's worth fighting for or holding on to, something like that. And I think that's true. So oftentimes I think people today can be, we as Christians can be very, it's just kind of be throwing up our hands and be like, all right, well, we've lost control of society, things are spiraling, crazy, everything.
Run up into the mountains.
Yes, but we have reasons for hope. There is still good in this society, and it's worth holding on to and worth fighting for. So I think that's really, really the main takeaway from this episode today.
And even the darkness must pass.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a good line.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't in the book. Well, it wasn't in that section of the book. That thought is other places, but Jackson did a good job. I still love the books more, but he did. Hats off to him. I think he did a wonderful job.